Welcome back to another Bali COVID-19 update. My name is Bruce, and this is the update for August 22nd, 2021. And lots of news has come up since Wednesday. Well, I'll get as much as I can in 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, what about the numbers? Some good news. Now, this is the weekend, and this happens on the weekend usually, but this is good news, so let's be positive. The 7-day average for new positive cases dropped to 943, below 1,000. This is the first time in a long time it's been below 1,000. Great news. However, the 7-day average for deaths has risen. It's now 57 a day. And throughout Indonesia, 16,744 new cases. So we are below 20,000. That's great. So this is some really positive news. Unfortunately, 1,361 deaths. And tested individuals, yesterday, 116,300 with a 14.4% positive rate. Good news again, 14.4%. But let's take a look at the average. The 7-day average positivity is 19.6, below 20. So this is dropping, and we're below 20. So good news, good news. And vaccination numbers in Bali, 3,131,179, which gives us 72.5% of the population with the first dose, and second dose, 1,606,538, 37.2% of the population. So moving along. And yesterday, 68,222 doses were administered. And what about the numbers for yesterday? New positive cases, 849. Okay, so back below 1,000 again. Recoveries, 1,197. More recoveries than new cases. Deaths, 57. That's not good. Current active cases, 9,982. We're below 10,000. So numbers are continuing to drop. Out of the 849 new cases, all are Indonesians. 687 of those are local transmissions, 159 are domestic travelers, and 3 from international travelers. And by Regency, 241 Denpasar, Badung 175, Tabanan 103, Gianyar 77, Buleleng 69, Bangli 50, Klungkung 45, Jembrana 44, and Karanasem 44. And I just added this in. This was not going to be in, but I'm going to put this in. The Bali COVID-19 Task Force claims there's a positive trend in handling COVID-19 in Bali. Of course, they're going to, and numbers are, well, showing that there has been. So, and this has been since Pak Luhut came here, and, some people are not happy that he was here. Some people are, but the numbers have decreased since then. And so, according to the Secretary of Bali COVID-19 Task Force, Imade Rentin, the numbers have gone down, continually gone down to today, where we have 9,982 active cases. And so he said that this positive trend is in line with the activeness of the Bali Province COVID-19 Task Force with TNE and Polri in promoting centralized isolation, right? And so that was Pak Luhut's big thing, is we're going to have centralized isolation, and the numbers have gone down. I hear my kitten crying in the background. Okay, I have to go see what he's doing. Looks like they're taking a victory lap now. I hope that victory lap is justified. And let's see what's happening with vaccines and vaccinations. Oh, good news. Good news on the vaccination front. The first Pfizer vaccines have arrived in Indonesia. Indonesia received the first batch of 1.6 million doses out of a total of 50 million that have been ordered from Pfizer in the U.S. The rest of the shipment should arrive sometime by the end of the year. According to Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi, the government will continue to improve its efforts to secure vaccine supplies for all Indonesians. Also, on Thursday, 450,000 doses from Netherlands arrived, and this was the first batch of a total of 3 million doses that the Netherlands has committed to share with Indonesia. With Thursday's arrivals, Indonesia now has a vaccine stock of 191 million doses. And if we take a look at what the plan is, it's, last I heard, 208 million people to be vaccinated, and that's the target. And so that's what, 416 million, and we have 191 now, so we're working our way up. So far, the country's relied on supplies from the Chinese pharmaceutical Sinovac Biotech, and they've delivered 158 million doses, or 82% of our supply. And AstraZeneca has delivered more than 16 million, and I've had 2 of those. That's what everybody up here got. And another Chinese drug maker, Sinopharm, and the American company Moderna have each delivered 8 million doses to Indonesia. And this article mentions that Indonesia is battling anti-vaxxers, anti-vaxxer influencers, and wow, you want to see some? Just go and look at a couple of the Ubud Facebook pages. The anti-vaxxers are all over. However, despite the efforts of the anti-vaxxer influencers, it appears that the population of Indonesia is in favor, the majority, in favor of vaccinations, and the latest poll shows 72% of respondents want to get vaccinated. That's not enough. We need to get a lot more than that. So there's still a lot of work done in that to spread information and educate the population about the needs to get vaccinated. And what about vaccines and vaccinations? I didn't talk about that last time. And so, some good news on that front. Badung Regency government starts vaccination program for pregnant women. And so that was started on Thursday. And it was done in Mangusada Hospital in Denpasar. And that's a big hospital. If you drive up that road, it's in Kapal. You can't miss it. The target is to vaccinate 100 women per day. And this is going to be done gradually until all pregnant women in Badung are vaccinated. And this is just part of the vaccination program that's been going on. There's been talk about vaccinating pregnant women for a while, and it has finally started. According to Dr. Sumardi, an obstetrician over at Mangusada, it's good for pregnant women to get the vaccine between 14 and 34 weeks into the pregnancy. At 14 weeks, he said, the fetus in the womb has begun to develop properly, and by 33 weeks, it's hoped that the second vaccine will reach 2 weeks before delivery, so that the mom is fully vaccinated. The overall target is 1,822 people. And they're going to be using the Moderna vaccine because Moderna is considered to be better for Sinovac for pregnant women. Even though, according to this article, the effects of the vaccine are felt for a longer time, at least for 48 hours. Women may feel uncomfortable, but it should not really affect their daily activities. The women will get 2 vaccines first, and then 28 days later, they will get the second vaccine. So for all of the pregnant women in Bali, this is good news. Starting in Badung, but it should be spreading around the island soon. And speaking of vaccinations, what's going on in terms of countries requiring vaccinations, mandating vaccinations? Well, COVID-19 vaccine rules around the world. Canada bans unvaccinated passengers as other countries also crack down. So the Canadian government is soon going to require all travelers on intraprovincial trains, planes, and cruise ships to be vaccinated against COVID-19. According to a government spokesman, as soon as possible in the fall and no later than the end of October, the government of Canada will require employees in the federally regulated air, rail, and marine transportation sectors to be vaccinated. This includes all commercial air travelers. And France this week also said that it will require people to have a special virus pass before they can travel by plane, train, or bus across the country. Additionally, the Canadian government is going to require vaccinations for all public servants. According to a government spokesman, additional measures are needed to encourage more people to get vaccinated and protect the hard-won gains that the country has made. And so this is happening everywhere in the world. You've got the people who are willing to get vaccinated and the anti-vaxxers and their conspiracy theories. And if we're going to end this, everybody's going to get vaccinated, have to get vaccinated. And it seems like in most places, if you're going to want to travel by air, you're going to need to get vaccinated. A lot of companies are requiring vaccinations now in the U.S. And here in Indonesia, and I've talked about this before, you can't get into the malls unless you've got your vaccination card. I have mine somewhere here. And that's in Jakarta right now, but I expect that that will be here in Bali, required here in Bali too, and somewhere I've got some news about how that's going to work if you've been vaccinated outside of Indonesia, how you're going to be able to get that data into the Indonesian databases so that they can check when you go into a restaurant or a hotel or you want to fly on a plane. And this article has a list of countries and the status for their vaccine mandates, and I'm not going to go through all of them. Some of them I'm not sure whether they're right or not. The one for Indonesia is really out of date. It's interesting to see the number of countries requiring vaccinations for government employees, for traveling, for entering into restaurants or public buildings, malls. So that's the way the world's going these days. So anti-vaxxers are going to have a hard time. I've talked about how these little cards that you get that show that you've been vaccinated 2 times are going to be required, your vaccination cards, to get into restaurants and take planes and ferries and the malls. Well, this is happening in Jakarta right now, not here yet, but it's going to be. But what about foreigners who have been vaccinated in the UK or the US or Australia or Russia or wherever? What about them? Those foreigners that have been vaccinated overseas may soon get their records verified at clinics appointed by the health ministry so that they can be used in Indonesia. According to this article in the Straits Times, individuals seeking to have their records verified first have to undergo a test, a serology test, and then they upload their overseas vaccination cards and put in their passport numbers into the Peduli Lindungi app, which is what we use here if you're a resident or a citizen, and then you're okay. You've got your certificate. You'll get your certificate, I'm assuming, and then you can have that printed out like I did, and you get a little card, like an ATM card, shows your vaccinations, dates, and what type, and then you're good to go. So according to a senior government spokesman, the regulation should be out within the month. So, good news for people that have been wondering, how am I going to get in? Am I going to have to carry some papers with me wherever I go? No, you'll be able to do just what the Indonesian citizens or foreign residents do. And for those who think that Indonesia is too tough, fining foreigners 1 million rupiah for not wearing a mask or following protocols, what about Singapore? Well, a British citizen in Singapore was sentenced to 6 weeks in jail for not wearing a mask and harassing police officers who were sent to arrest him. He was arrested after footage of him not wearing a mask on a train in May went viral, and he subsequently harassed the police officers who came to arrest him. And when he went to court, he refused to wear a face mask, and he went into a rant in which he described the proceedings as preposterous and disgusting and said masks were not effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Due to the rant, the judge ordered a psychiatric assessment, but he was deemed fit for the case, and he was convicted for breaching COVID-19 rules and his behavior towards the police, causing a public nuisance. And he was sentenced to 6 weeks in jail. It was backdated to July 19th when he was first arrested. In Singapore, if you serve 2/3 of your sentence, you can be released. And so he was freed from prison, and he is going to be deported. And in May, nine British citizens were banned from working in Singapore after they broke the coronavirus rules while partying on a yacht in Santa hats. Okay. And in June last year, 4 British men were also banned after they went on a pub crawl in breach of the COVID curbs. So, we got it easy here. But wear a mask and you won't have a problem. And speaking of foreigners and problems, in the last 8 months, Bali immigration has deported 123 foreigners, according to the head of the regional office of the Ministry of Law and Human Rights, Pak Manahuruk. In the last 8 months, from January to early August, Bali immigrations deported 123 foreign citizens who violated immigration and health protocols. And in the period from July 3rd until now, the Bali Ministry of Law and Human Rights has deported 6 foreigners who violated health protocols. Pak Manihuruk emphasized that supervision and law enforcement against foreigners are carried out intensively by the Denpasar Class 1 Immigration Office. And this is done so foreigners do not commit violations that lead to deportation. So on last Saturday, the 14th, personnel carried out control. They were divided into 2 teams, and this took place at the intersection of Jalan Pantai Sindu, Jalan Danau Toba, and along the edge of the beach. They targeted restaurants and cafes, and from the results of surveillance, it can be seen that foreigners were carrying out activities going along with the health protocols, and no immigration violations were found. And Pak Manihuruk also said, in addition to supervision, Immigration Class 1 Denpasar also provides education and appeals to foreigners, restaurant and cafe owners around the location to maintain the health protocol and pay attention to the validity period of their residence. Means don't overstay your visa. And he concluded by inviting all relevant stakeholders and agencies to continue to work together in supervising and monitoring foreigners who are in Bali in order to prevent potential violations by foreigners. So, if you are a foreigner watching this and you're in Bali, you are being watched, or you may be watched. Another reason to follow the rules here. And so, not just foreigners causing problems, as I say all the time, it's local people as well. And this article, 2 travel drivers going from Java to Bali were arrested and threatened with 6 years in prison. So these travel drivers were arrested by the police on Wednesday when a guard at the Bali exit post checked the travel requirements for passengers and found that the documents that they had did not match their ID cards. Okay, why would you show a document that doesn't match your ID? And so they found out that the vaccination letters had been prepared by the travel drivers by paying a fee of 300,000 rupiah. The police said that the travel driver admitted he'd prepared vaccine letters and ID cards for passengers in exchange for 300,000 rupiahs. So, as I mentioned, I think two videos ago, the police and authorities at the Gilimanuk port have been very watchful, well, at least according to reports here, looking for counterfeit papers, and that's continuing to be done here. People that don't want to get tested now or vaccinated. Now the price of tests have been lowered because the president said, hey, we're going to lower the price of testing so that more people get tested. And so it's a little more affordable now. And of course, vaccines are free, and so people can get them for nothing, and then they wouldn't have to go through all these problems. So this is still going to be a problem for us. As long as the borders are open, we're going to have people coming in who aren't vaccinated, and you just have to do the best you can, the authorities, not me, to catch them as they come in so that they don't spread the virus. And the police spokesman said, once again, I ask and appeal to travelers to never do anything wrong, such as falsifying vaccine certificates and fake rapid tests for personal gain. We will not hesitate to arrest and process heavy laws. Okay, so, good. Let's get strict with that. According to the head of the Bali tourism agency, Iputu Astawa, about 500 of the 800 to 900 people a day who enter Bali are coming for traveling purposes. He explained that the majority of domestic visitors come from Jakarta, Surabaya, Sulawesi, and Lombok. Before the restrictions started, Bali would receive 7,000 to 10,000 visitors a day. And when the Work from Bali program was ongoing, it was as many as 13,000 visitors a day. But that's dropped now by, he says, about 88%. However, Astawa was optimistic that the situation would be back to normal once the COVID-19 vaccine was distributed to 70% of the population and herd immunity was achieved, still using the 70% herd immunity, which is problematic. Astawa said that 70% is expected to be reached by the end of September. And with the numbers the way they are, it seems like we're going to reach that mark. So once we reach 70%, and the government thinks that we have herd immunity, are they going to open the island up even if the numbers of active cases and deaths remain high? Astawa concluded his remarks by reminding the central government to carefully select the countries that are going to be involved in this travel bubble in order to pick countries that have prioritized rapidly distributing the COVID-19 vaccines. In other words, open up to countries that have reached 70% as well. I'm assuming that's what he's saying. So that's in the near future. What about right now? Well, in a plan, I don't know about this plan, the deputy governor of Bali has requested that Bali be made a quarantine place for foreigners who come to Indonesia. He said there's many business people and other important travelers who come to Indonesia and they want to quarantine in Bali, and that after the quarantine process is over, they'll go on to Jakarta or wherever their business takes them. Okay, first, why would you want to come to Bali to be in quarantine and then go back to Jakarta if you could just quarantine in Jakarta first and stay there if that's where your business is, unless the plan is one of these quarantines where you can wander around the hotel and play in the pools. In that case, is that a quarantine? Okay, well, more. The deputy governor said that even if the foreign visitors were allowed to quarantine Bali, that's not going to be enough to encourage the economic recovery in Bali, but he says that it will be enough to quench the thirst of tourism actors in Bali who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. In other words, this is basically a symbolic act. The deputy governor added that because of the dire situation, economic situation in Bali, he hopes that the international borders will open up immediately in order to solve Bali's economic problems. He said previously Bali had planned to accept international flights several times, but it couldn't be done because of the changing development of cases. Of course. The head of the National Disaster Management Agency said that he would consider the proposal to open Bali up for quarantines for international visitors, and he said that the task force will discuss the possibilities of that. Okay, so what do you think about this one? First, international visitors have a reputation, unfortunately, of not staying in place. So If they're going to quarantine in Bali, what is that going to mean? Are they going to be allowed to wander around hotels? Are they going to be stuck in their room? And if they're stuck in their room, what's the difference between Bali and Jakarta? And if they are here, who's going to take responsibility to make sure that they don't go anywhere? There's a lot of questions with this, and since the deputy governor himself said that it's not going to have any impact, this is purely a symbolic act. I'm not sure that the benefits outweigh the risk. What do you think? Okay, time for the wrap-up. Lots of stuff here, a lot of things I didn't cover because, well, as I said before, 25 to 30 minutes is my goal. What's it look like? Positive. This is a positive day. It's so nice to have a positive day. Numbers are looking good. So we're going to take that for the day, take that for a win. Things are coming down. And pregnant women getting vaccinated, that's great, because there was an article, which I didn't talk about, I will, that 20% of maternal deaths can be attributed to COVID in Indonesia. So that's not good. Okay, and the vaccines and vaccinations, they're getting mandated everywhere now. One country after the next. And so if you're going to want to live in this post-pandemic world, you're going to need to be vaccinated unless you don't want to go anywhere. Some interesting news from Australia, and I just mentioned a little bit here, but I just saw a new thing that the government is saying that they're, well, hinting that they're going to give up the zero COVID policy and learn to live with it and come up with some new things because of, I assume because of all the demonstrations that have been going on against the lockdowns and the curfew, and some of the demonstrations have apparently gotten violent, and so there's going to be some changes in Australia. We'll have to follow that and see what's going to happen there. Here, mask wearing, and well, it's getting less and less, unfortunately. We were out today to go see a new house that's being built for my son, and a lot of people, once you get off the main road, a lot of people not wearing masks. Most people not wearing masks. And so that's not a good sign. And we ran down to Kalibukbuk first, part of the tourist area in North Bali. We wanted to go and have lunch at a restaurant we've been going to for, well, since my kids were little, so 20 years at least. And nothing. And the streets were completely empty in Kalibukbuk. Nothing. We saw one tourist, without a mask of course. One tourist, that was it. And over in, so we decided to go to Lavina and try over by the dolphin statue. So if you're used to North Bali or been up here, you know what I'm talking about. And everything was closed there too. And this was at 12:30 in the afternoon, so we wanted to have lunch. And the restaurants were not open. There was nobody on the street. It was dead. And even on the main road, much less traffic than usual. It was really weird. My wife called it, it's like the dead city. So, yeah, that's not good. Hopefully things will take a turn for the better now with these low numbers. The current restrictions, and no, it's not a lockdown, the current restrictions end tomorrow night, and you can expect at 8 p.m. this time, Bali time, for somebody, either the president or Pak Luhut, to come on and announce what they're going to do about restrictions. Are they going to extend it another week, or are they going to stop it? My guess, where's my crystal ball? My guess is it'll be extended for another week and maybe a little more loosening up. And when is Bali going to open? That question, and still nothing, still no idea. Even the crystal ball is not working. Okay, I'll stick with December. And so that's about it. The weather is great. I hope that these numbers, that this is really a trend, and we're going to see a decrease in numbers every day, and getting back to some kind of normal soon. So, thanks for viewing. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. Wear a mask. If you want to live in the post-COVID world, you're going to need to get vaccinated. Hope you can come to terms with that. If not, yeah, well, that's your decision. Nobody's forcing you to. And be kind to someone today. I'll see you next time.